The Zen Environment by Marian Mountain. Wine tasting, the first cup. Ordinary people are strongly attached to the idea that poverty, solitude, and insecurity are evils to be avoided or overcome. Until I was in my early 40s, I clung to an American dream, the illusion that happiness is the byproduct of prosperity, companionship, and security. By the time I reached middle age, I had become a member in good standing of the affluent society. I had a cellar full of the most expensive and widely advertised brands of California-grown happiness. But I discovered, after extravagant claims of the American wine merchants, that they were misleading. I was no happier with prosperity than I had been without it. In fact, it seemed like the happiest times of my life had been the times when I had been the least prosperous. I began to do some research on the source of happiness, and I found that almost all sages in all cultures and all times agreed that happiness is seldom increased by accumulating possessions, but more often by getting rid of them. In order to test this principle, I decided to cultivate a life of poverty. The idea of deliberately cultivating a life of poverty may sound crazy to an ordinary American, but in Japan, which until recently was a poor country, the cult of wabi, W-A-B-I, a way of life that is poor in spirit as well as poor in material or worldly possessions, is considered to be extremely good taste. Now, after many years of testing a wabi life, I am in a better position to compare my old life of prosperity with my new life of poverty. I can see that the energy required to accumulate possessions and the energy required to hold on to those possessions takes away from the energy that can be used to appreciate the actual value of life. During the period in which I was busy accumulating and trying to hold on to my possessions, I didn't have the time or energy to enjoy the most precious gifts of all, the ordinary miracles of life. These ordinary miracles are the ones we usually take for granted. Earth, sky, water, fire, air, sun, moon, stars, rain, wind, trees, plants, animals, and the miracles of everyday living, eating, sleeping, walking, breathing, in short, the greater part of our original nature. There is a story about Ryokan, a very poor Japanese Zen master who lived alone in a little hut, enjoying nothing but the best wine in Japan. When a thief came to Ryokan's hut and couldn't find anything to steal, Ryokan offered him his clothes as a gift. After the thief left, Ryokan sat naked watching the moon. Poor fellow, he mused. I wish I could give him this beautiful moon. When we are prosperous, we may be as poverty-stricken as a thief. We have less time to enjoy the moon of our original nature. But after we give away our prosperity, we have plenty of time to appreciate our Zen environment. Those who are not poor by choice will probably disagree with me and complain that they are not happy. Most poor people believe that if they could only become prosperous, they would find happiness. The reason ordinary people can't find happiness in poverty is that they've been taught to fight poverty. But if we don't fight poverty or ignore it or run away from it, if we observe poverty with a mind free of preconceived ideas and false conditioning, poverty will reveal its true nature. The American writer-naturalist Thoreau extolled the value of a life of simplicity in his book Walden. St. Francis of Assisi found a friend in poverty. He called his friend My Lady Poverty, and he wooed his lady with courtly manners and troubadour songs. This kind of attitude in which we are able to appreciate fully the blessings of poverty. To appreciate poverty in the city may be more difficult to appreciate it in the country. I can't speak from personal experience about a life of poverty in a city environment. But recently I read a very inspiring account of a life and teachings of Tenko-san. And in brackets it says Tenko Nishida, Nishida, the Japanese founder of the Etoan way of life, which features homelessness, poverty, and selfless service. Members of Etoan consider the base of their practice the city streets. They go to various households, they work out of gratitude, and they humbly accept what is offered to them out of gratitude, necessities such as meals, baths, clothes, and lodging. Tenko-san discovered by personal experience that God, or Buddha nature, provides us with everything we need in this life. The religious genius Dogen Zenji observed that each person is born into life with a fixed allotment of life and food. Another religious genius from another time and place said the same thing in different words. Take no thought for your life, what ye shall eat, neither for the body, what ye shall put on. Consider the ravens, for they neither sow nor reap, which neither have storehouse nor barn, and God feedeth them. Consider the lilies, how they grow. They toil not, they spin not. And yet I say unto you, that Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. In my prosperous life, I had many modern conveniences, including those most American women now consider necessities: an electric stove, refrigerator, washer and dryer, central heating, hot and cold running water, 2 inside bathrooms, 2 telephones, a television set. In my life of poverty, I have none of these conveniences, and I don't miss them. I realize by experience that they are mixed blessings. It's difficult to appreciate the actual value of life when it's too convenient or too comfortable. There is a Zen saying by a Chinese Zen layman, Pang Chushi, drawing water, carrying firewood. How wonderful, how mysterious. There is something uniquely satisfying to the body and spirit in being directly and fully involved in everyday activities. Cutting wood, stacking it, getting out of bed on an icy morning, building the fire, grinding the coffee, boiling it over the open fire, drinking it in the presence of the mountain, the sky, and the ocean. All these activities bring us closer to our original nature. A woman appreciates the effort her man has taken to cut and stack a good supply of wood, and he appreciates the effort his woman takes to keep the fire going. They both appreciate the windfalls the mountain provides them, and the mountain appreciates being appreciated. An evening listening to the rain on the roof, watching the fire, is more enlightening than an evening watching television. The companionship of fire brings us closer to our original nature. Until Jack installed the water system on the Marble Peak property, I hauled all the water from the little spring below the cabin, usually making 2 or 3 trips a day to supply our basic needs. Carrying water is the ordinary way of life in backcountry. Having water piped into the cabin is very convenient, but I wonder if it might be too convenient. In order not to lose my appreciation for water, I wash clothes outside, below the cabin, using an old-fashioned tub and a scrub board. I wring the clothes out by hand, and then I carry them up the hill, and I hang them out to dry on lines stretched between two trees. And ever since I gave up my washing machine and dryer, I've learned how much these modern conveniences take away from a woman's natural expression. Washing clothes by hand tends to awaken their original nature. Jack says that whenever he puts on clothes that I've washed by hand, they remind him of how much he appreciates me. And every time I throw a log on the fire, it reminds me how much I appreciate him. Our wine jug is empty tonight, and it's a long way to town. But that's okay. I've discovered that the best time to taste the Zen in our cup is when it's empty. There may be many who will object to the life I am exploring because they believe it's impossible to go back to the good old days. Manufacturers very cleverly manipulate statistics to sell us on the necessity of continuing in the direction of more dependency upon their products. But if we stop and really look at what's going on, we find that it's not only possible to go back, but sometimes it's the only sane thing to do. If we find that the road we've been taking has led us to the brink of disaster, it is only sensible to retrace our steps in order to seek out a better road. Of course, it's not necessary for everyone to go back to the culture of kerosene lamps, wood stoves, the old-fashioned scrub boards. But unless lots of us step back a little, perhaps just to the point of getting rid of our television, the great mass conditioner and stimulator of the fires of greed, anger, illusion, and fear, and begin using the precious time we all waste, watching it in activities that detach us from the net of mass-produced delusions. We may wake up some morning under a mushroom cloud to discover that we have been transported back to the time of the cave dwellers. Ours won't be the first civilization in history that committed suicide because its people lost touch with their original nature.